I always aspired to be in movies. When people ask me at 4 years old what I was going to be when I grew up, I said a movie star. I always wanted to be. And when I'd go back to Utah to visit my cousin, he would have me dance, and people would throw me pennies and nickels, and he would introduce me as a movie star, and I would sign autographs. I was doing that before I was ever made a movie. No, that's all I ever wanted to be, was an actress.
Do you tie me up or just knock me out?
My career started when I was 11 years old, and a neighbor of ours sent my picture into a casting magazine, and they were looking for someone to play Walter Brennan's granddaughter in a movie called Maryland. We screen tested, and I got the role. They were looking for a girl who looked naive enough to believe that her Uncle Willie came back as a racehorse to win the Derby. And they went from Shirley Temple to Marilyn Monroe to everyone. And we screen tested, and I got the role. And it was opposite Glenn Ford. And my name was Helen Coford originally. Harry Cohen said, well, we can't have two Fords in one movie, so we've got to find a new name for you. And the name of the character in the movie was Terry. And I said, oh, I want to be Terry. And he said, well, every head of the department all think that you are Terry, that you should be Terry. So he said, that's what it's going to be, Terry. But now we've got to find a last name. He turned to my mother, and he said, what's your maiden name? And she said, Bickmore. Too long, it's Moore. Terry Moore. Nice to see you, Terry Moore. Goodbye, get out of here. And that's how I became Terry Moore. One day I was doing photos in the photo lab at Columbia Studios. This man comes in, bald-headed man, and said, can I talk to you? And I said, oh, I'm shooting, I can't. They said, it's okay, Terry. So he walks me up and down the street of Columbia. When I went back, I said, who was that? And they said, that was Harry Cohen. He was just as friendly and dear as can be, so I only knew this wonderful, wonderful man. After I got Return of October, they put me under contract. And then I did movie after movie there. Columbia was completely Harry Cohen, and he was a dictator there. And it was very small, and it was known as the Rita Hayworth studio. So she had the most beautiful dressing room of any studio. I mean, her dressing room was gorgeous. So Harry Cohen gave it to me. I got Rita Hayworth's dressing room. I got her makeup man, her hairdresser, everything. I was treated like a queen there, and I loved it. Film noir was usually the black and white film, mysteries, and people loved them.
You're a burglar, aren't you?
Oh, I just saw you alone, and I...
Saw me alone. You're the kind of burglar that low women aren't safe with, aren't you?
There's always a bad girl. I always wanted to be the bad girl. Later on, I got to be the bad girl. And two of a kind, I was the good girl. I was the innocent, the ingenue. But I got to work with Edmund O'Brien, who was considered one of the best actors in all of Hollywood. He died very young, but he was considered one of the very, very best actors. It's hard to say what he does because you can't put your finger on what he does. He was a natural, but then a natural isn't really always a natural. They know what they're doing. He knew what he was doing.
Say now.
Company cometh.
And I got to work with Liz Scott, and we remained friends forever. I loved her sophistication. I still like to wear my hair the way Liz Scott wore it. She taught me a lot about hair and makeup. She was very much into that. She was very aware of how she looked. Edmund O'Brien taught me a great deal about acting just by watching him, by imitating him. And that's the best form, because what you're doing is imitating life. And they imitated life to the fullest. They understood my shyness, and they understood how young and innocent I was, and they all seemed to love that. And they didn't prey upon it either. They really treated me with great respect and held me up to the light.
When I was a kid, I used to have one dream a lot. And the place it happened looked something like this, that's all.
Go on, Mike. Tell us more about it.
It was just a kid dream.
Oh, tell us anyway.
I don't remember Henry Levin that well. He must have been nice because he didn't get in the way. Some directors can get in the way. You have to know what you're doing. A director should not have to direct you. He should be worried about the camera and everything else. You should know what you're doing when you go in there. So he evidently thought I knew what I was doing because he left me alone. A director must create the atmosphere and make it comfortable. That's the important thing that a director must do.
But Uncle Will, if he should be the one and you didn't check.
Very well.
This was before I did the bad girl roles, and I never thought I would ever do bad girl roles because I was in all the animal pictures. I started out as a child in Son of Lassie. Lassie was a dog. I did the Mighty Joe Young. Mighty Joe Young was a gorilla. I did the Great Rupert. Rupert was a squirrel. And I went on doing animal pictures after animal pictures, and I was always the girl next door. So until Danny Mann came along, who was from the New York stage and didn't know that Terry Moore wasn't supposed to be a bad girl, I couldn't get a bad girl role for anything. That was Come Back Little Sheba. And that was my big break, and that was my Academy Award nomination. And that just changed my life.
Hey. Hey, screwball. You can break a guy's neck dropping in on him like that.
Did I see Vincent Mailer in here?
Double-breasted suit, face like a tuna?
Oh, yes.
He's in there with your uncle.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I think when I discovered that I had arrived, that I was part of Hollywood, was the day that I was sitting at Romanoff's, which was a very famous restaurant in Hollywood, and on the other side of the room was sitting Humphrey Bogart, and I saw him get up and walk over, and I wondered where he was going, and he came to me, and he said, I want to congratulate you on your nomination and tell you what a wonderful actress I think you are. And I said, my God, I've arrived. Mr. Bogart thinks I'm good.